The only metal that is liquid at ordinary room temperature, it still outweighs most solid ones, including lead. Volume for volume, among all the substances you may encounter in your everyday life, only a few such as platinum, gold, tungsten, and iridium are heavier than mercury. Although it runs like water and exhibits a surface tension, it does not wet any object that it comes in contact with. Now, I would call mercury an obsolete element. In the past, mercury was used pretty extensively for most commonly thermometers, but also manometers, barometers, sphygmomanometers, probably screwed that one up, but also mercury switches, mercury relays. But because mercury is a hazardous, nasty, toxic material, it's been replaced by non-hazardous things, mostly electronic devices, solid-state relays, and pressure transducers and the like. Now, people always ask me where I get my mercury from. I bought a lot of it off eBay about 15 years ago, buying broken mercury contactors. But seriously, consider the toxicity and everything, and do you really want to have something like that around your house? Now, before we start discussing whether we can actually walk on this very dense metal, mercury is almost 14 times denser than water, and we're going to take a look at some objects that will float in mercury. Now, this 50 BMG bullet weighs 1.6 ounces or 45 grams, and it floats on mercury like it was made out of balsa wood. Now we can see what's going on a little better in slow motion, and you'll notice that the mercury just kind of repels off the surface of the bullet. It doesn't wet it at all.
Okay, now we can just...
Now here we've taken a little bit of water and put it on the surface of the mercury, and we dunk our finger in, and it takes a little bit of effort. It feels kind of strange, and I would say the best way to describe it is like sticking your finger in a bowl of Jello. Now, of course, a golf ball normally sinks in water, but to submerge it in mercury, it takes a lot of force, and it's just an absolute bizarre feeling. It takes probably about at least 5 pounds of force to push it down and submerge it, and that was just a really weird sensation. You have to fight to put it, get it down there.
Help me!
Now, when we drop the golf ball into the mercury, it creates a little splash and bobs around like a ping pong ball would bob around on water. Very, very buoyant. Next, we'll take a very heavy solid steel ball bearing. This weighs over 7 ounces or about 200 grams for the rest of the world. And at least 50% of its surface is still above the surface of the mercury. And it does take a little less effort to submerge it, less than the golf ball, but still it kind of defies your senses when you try to submerge it. Next, we'll put a very large socket in the mercury. Well, it's pretty large, and we'll try to stand it up on the surface of it, and it really just kind of balances itself out and is partially submerged, just like the ball bearing. In other words, the socket finds its natural equilibrium with the mercury. Now, since the human body is mostly water and relatively buoyant in comparison to mercury, if we were to try to actually stand on mercury, our bodies would also try to find equilibrium, probably submerged to the point of our knees, possibly our crotch, and you couldn't actually stand on it. Now, small spiders and insects can walk on mercury simply because they're light and they distribute their weight very well. Now, for us humans, since most of our mass is in our upper body, we'd eventually fall over and we'd float around like a cork. It'd probably feel a lot like a waterbed, if anyone remembers those things. Or this bullet, trying to balance that standing straight up. As far as walking on it, Mercury would be impossible.
Alright, so here's my 110-pound iron working anvil. I think we got this for making horseshoes and stuff, back when we had horses. So, let's set it in here and see if it floats. Okay, it doesn't seem to want to stay upright. I'll just let it tip over. There it is. It's floating. Look at that.
The iron anvil floats because mercury has a density nearly twice that of iron. In fact, due to the density ratios, the iron actually floats better than wood does in water.
Push it under.
Let's push it down. Oh, it's hard to push down. Oh, that's great. Here, let's try it again from the other side. Okay, here we go. Push down. It bobs up like a cork. Okay, let's I want to try hitting it with a hammer. I think it dulls the sound quite a bit. Here, let's pull it up out of here. Just set it on that. Okay. It definitely sounds a lot different. That's actually pretty nice to have your anvil sitting in mercury while you're working, to deaden that sound. That way it doesn't hurt your ears as much. It's pretty good. Barely make it wobble by hitting it. Let's just set that there. Put my hammer in. Hammer floats too. That's pretty great. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Apparently I got mercury in my glove. A lot of good that did.